word though at the end of the sentence. For example, our team lost. It was a good game, though. Though, in this case, can be used at the end of the sentence. However, we don't have such kind of use of conjunctions with the word although or even though. Only though can be used as contrast at the end. The second one, we enjoyed our camping holiday, though, although we can actually add even though as well here. It rained every day. Webster students decided to buy the car, even though, although can be used or though can be used, they didn't really have money. So these are some examples to familiarize you. Moving on to the next slide.
Um, The next one is despite and in spite of. As previously we did mention that the same thing, there's a difference between this looks like however and also, but the difference between them, we can use these after, we can use from after them, we use nouns or gerunds, but we don't use the clauses. If we want to use the clause, we should use like uh, fact, of the fact that or something like the structures, then we can use this kind of thing. Here, so you can see the examples. Both of them is correct here. For example, you can despite the rain, you walk to the station, or you can say that in spite of the being tried, he walked to the station.
Okay.
So now let's talk about teaching and learning problems with contrast clauses. So problems learners face with this grammar point, it is usually they may not able to use the correct structures because they always forget the proper usage of also, even though, or despite, or in spite of. So they always change the structure or word order. So learners usually oversimplify the structures, and they usually overuse the one. Uh, they always use they based on their previous knowledge, and they automatically create the new sentence based on their schemata without knowing the proper order of the words. So, and another factor is explaining such kind of conjunctions over the grammar point in the target language can cause somehow difficulties, because a lot of learners do not use them frequently, even their mother tongue, because they don't know their native language grammar. That's why it's hard to explain in the target language. So can you move on to the next slide? So,
Ouch!
so here are some reasons why learners come across with these difficulties. So as you see, learners, as I said before, learners always oversimplify their structures, and they don't know the native. So my voice is coming back to me.
So somebody is not using headphones. Guys, you better use headphones because it will be echoing and our ears will suffer much. So use headphones, please, everyone. Okay? Yep. Bekus?
Okay. So students always use the previous knowledge, as I said before, and they don't learn the new aspects of grammar. So that's why they always make the simple and usual mistakes. And in the target language, learning target language requires also native grammar skills, because we build the new language based on our native language, right? if you learn three or four language, it will be easy to learn the new language because we have experience to learn new language and we build up this new skills for learn this new language based on our native language grammar. So now, so whose
Who's
turn?
next?
So, reasons why they face difficulties was mentioned. Now about the suggestions. Jahangir, do you want me to cover or will you talk about it? Hello?
Jahangir.
Do you want me to cover or will you talk about it? Hello, Jahangir.
Yeah, I'm
Hunger.
here. Yeah, I will talk. So this is the suggestions which we would like to offer, and these are the first one is we have to use the structures more frequently in the class so that learners are much more familiar with them. It means that we have to give them opportunity to practice some kind of complex structures, and then they can understand and they can like learn these structures and they can apply in their speech. As well as this, we have to give the more examples like authentic materials such as films, songs, magazine articles to to an example. This is because this is very near to the authentic materials. That's why it's very helpful for them to get the topic and learn a lot of things, learn the content of these structures. And moreover, this if we use inductive, if we teach or learn inductively from the real life examples, then the topic can be much easier and to the students to comprehend their subject and these topics. So that's why I think it's very crucial to teaching inductively because if we give kind of examples and guide the students, then they can understand and they can learn faster and easier. Julius, you want
Yep.
to add something?
Uh, yep. I would like to actually move to the next slide about pedagogical approaches while teaching students.
Okay.
Yeah, together with our group members, we thought about the approaches that can be used while teaching this particular topic, and we believe that integration of task-based teaching and communicative way of teaching would be one of the best. Why? Well, initially, at the beginning of the lesson, first communicative way of teaching can be used in order to implicitly explain the topic, give real life examples, create the content for students so that they feel the language, not only knows the structure of the sentence, but associate it with the real life, with their real life. So the material has to be authentic, and learners ought to be encouraged to, um, let's say, understand it by kind of associating it with their own lives. When it is personal, it is usually remembered better. So that's why more real life, authentic examples should be given to them. And then learners ought to be given some information, for example, introduction of this particular conjunction, right? And then have to be let's say there has to be a little bit more practice in a communicative way. That is, it can be role playing with these particular conjunctions and making dialogues together. And anyway, there can be some mistakes, especially in the usage of ing form or noun form or full clause. And while they're making mistakes, their mistakes ought to be explained. And teaching has to continue this way. Teaching has to continue this way again in an inductive way without giving too much information to learners to write down or to jot down. And then, after they have understood their mistakes, some more task-based activities, task-based approach can be used where they do varieties of activities. on this particular topic. And these activities can be selected response or limited response activities where they have to, for example, complete the sentences or fill in the gaps with necessary words inside of, etc. And mixing these approaches would give a better result because the lesson would not be boring because there would be a lot of speaking and interaction going on in the class. And task-based learning is very helpful in order to help them drill the information after they have been familiarized with the topic. As actually, I came across this notion yesterday when I was writing a summary for chapter 6. Because this drilling should be done when after students have been familiarized with the topic. So familiarizing with the topic would be in the communicative way of teaching, and then after they have been already acquainted with the topic, task-based approach can be used by providing a lot of exercises to do. So moving on to the next part.
So now we would like to invite you to make up sentences based on the picture and given words. So with the help of the also, in spite of, you may make up sentences.
Crashed the car, although he drove it slowly.
That's right.
Yes.
Can you use the despite or in spite of as well here?
Mm-hmm.
He crashed car in spite of driving it slowly.
Yep, that's right.
So
Oh,
next
or it's
one,
also
please.
possible to say in spite of the fact that he drove slowly. Yeah,
Here are the answers. So
yeah, they got it very, very right.
yes. The next one, and the folk ran fast. The folk didn't catch the road runner. So what would be your sentence, guys? Hello.
Like also the folk run fast. Also we can use also, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes, we can
Use
use.
also in
Also
spite of, in
also
spite.
also the folk in spite of, even though also the folk ran fast. The folk didn't catch the road runner.
Yes. Hmm. So
Oh,
This is correct.
Okay, and
And it's time for us to move to the conclusion part. Hello?
yeah, yeah. Who's going to read?
the hunger.
Hello?
Yeah. So
Don't
at the
sleep.
conclusion, we'd like no, not really. At the conclusion, we'd like to say that inductive teaching is very crucial in making lessons more interactive and the students content-centered according to the theory, and learners are to be impressed in the language by being exposed
Immersed.
to various examples. Yeah, immersed. So the same is true while the teaching closes at contact. So we would like to say that this is very important to teaching inductively in terms of grammar.
Inductively. That's it.
Mhm. Yes, that's it.
So that brings us to the end of our presentation. So thank you for being online and active.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. Good.
You're welcome. And discussion part now.
so thank you for attention.
Thank you
So,
for that.
questions related to.
No
don't ask hard
questions.
questions. So no question. Yeah, everything is clear.
So, So, did you mention levels that you would teach this linkers, and what are the main issues in teaching this topic, those conjunction words?
Yes,
The level
we have
actually, the level, this is for B2 learners.
Mm-hmm.
B2 learners usually have the topic of
Mm-hmm.
conjunctions, and actually about difficulties we have already mentioned. One of
Mm-hmm.
the difficulties is they have problems with the correct structure. They usually tend to forget using gerund form after, for example, besides, inside of. They kind of mix it up. They
Mm-hmm.
can use gerund after in which they're supposed to use another conjunction. This is
Mm-hmm.
one of the problems.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is actually the very rare use of this word, very rare
Mm-hmm.
use. And why? What's the reason? The reason is their infrequent usage of these conjunctions in their real native language, as they do not use it often real in their native language. It is usually difficult for them to get used to using it in the target language.
Mm-hmm.
So very often learners tend to simplify it just with the word but. For
Mm-hmm.
example, although he had, as we mentioned earlier, although he had a lot of time, he was late. He had a lot of time, but he was late.
Mm-hmm.
Very frequently, you can oversimplify sentences
Mm-hmm.
with the help of but.
Mm-hmm.
So this is another thing. And in order to solve this, to resolve this issue, what teachers can do is use these structures more often in class, more often, so that learners like hear it all the time. They are exposed to it all the time. And that instructors also can give authentic materials from films, songs, or interviews, so that learners can hear it being used in real life more often. So
Mm-hmm.
these are solutions that we have.
Good. So yeah, so it's a good idea before you start a similar webinar, let's say, or presentation. Always tell the level. Why did you decide to cover this
Mm-hmm.
topic? What are the main issues? And maybe you could think of the local context, like if you are presenting at international places, you could say that like many Uzbek learners take IELTS test, and you can often notice that they use these link words much more rarely than other maybe learners and something like that. Yeah, so it's important to tell the purpose, not just come and tell, but explain why did you decide to discuss this. Mm-hmm. Good. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds
yes.
good. Very interesting. So, and who is next? And when we discuss this PPT presentations, you don't need to explain, I mean, the rules, but explain the problems there, the
Mm-hmm.
problems that you had there. And like you move on, you speak as a teacher, a teacher
Mm-hmm.
trainer
Mm-hmm.
to be exact, not a teacher to students, but a teacher
Mm-hmm.
trainer. So you just imagine you're teaching another new teacher. What are the main problems that he or she should avoid? So you're kind of warning them what they should keep in mind
Mm-hmm.
while teaching. Okay, good. And the next presenter.
Okay.
So thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
So and is everyone back? Firuza, your team,
Yes, I'm here.
everyone is here, and Dila, is she here?
Delia,
Yes, we
I
hear.
think I'm here. Uh-huh.
Kirsha, who is Kirsha?
It's
It's
Arafat.
me.
Okay, good. So let me share my screen now. Okay, you see my screen, yeah? Right?
Yes.
Yes.
So we can start. Yes,
Okay.
please go on.
Good morning, everybody. We are C group. Our group is going to present our presentation today. Our topic is conditionals.
Mm-hmm.
Next slide, please.
Oops. Yep.
Let me introduce our group members. Firuza Jumaniyozova, responsible for designing an activity. Dilraba Yulchiyeva, responsible for data collection. And me, Zulfazar Trudieva, responsible for designing presentation.
Mm-hmm. Agenda.
Please, yes, please next slide.
So,
Agenda.
agenda.
So, so today we will talk about conditional second and third. So first we will introduce the topic and we will describe second and third conditionals. After that, we will talk about some problems, teaching and learning problems. Then we will move on to pedagogical approach and we will talk about how to teach conditionals easily to students. Then we will finish our
Mm-hmm.
presentation with conclusion.
Good. So we have a citation.
Delia?
Yes, okay. Right now, I'm going to start with the introduction, and here I'm going to give you some kind of information about why we have chosen to teach conditionals inductively today. There were some kind of like a survey, call it COVID-1976. And this survey was conducted in order to analyze what kind of grammar problems, what kind of like a grammar topics are the most difficult one. And at that time, conditionals were ranked at the fifth place after prepositions and articles. And here we have some citation about Trengott. He just noted that conditional sentences are considered to be
Oops, sorry.
semantic structure and intrinsic syntactic international language, which means they have attracted the attention not only just linguists but also some kind of like a psychologists as well, because conditions are not only taught in grammatical just aspects, but we have to pay attention their pragmatic aspects as well. And the next slide is
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there are different types of conditionals. For example, first, zero, second, third, and mixed conditionals. But now we are going to present second and third conditionals today because of time limit. Yes, second conditionals. If you pay attention, this second conditionals, there is given the structure of the sentence. Second conditionals is used to describe unrealistic, imaginary, hypothetical situation, the in the present and their probable results. In the second conditions we use past simple and the future simple in the past, but the meaning of the sentence is related to present or future. For example, if I were a millionaire, I would buy a luxury house. Speaker is not a millionaire, but she or he only can imagine the situation.
So, and third conditional, we use the third conditional to talk about imaginary situations in the past and especially for regrets. So these situations are contrary to what really happened in the past. In the third conditional, we use the past perfect in the cause clause and would in the present perfect in the effect clause. So the example is given here. If she had studied harder, she would have passed the exam. So in the past, she didn't study hard, and she couldn't pass the exam. Next
Mm-hmm.
slide, please.
There are different types of problems. I mean, the teaching problems for student is teaching conditionals. The first problem is using past verb forms to signal non-past meaning. What I mean by this, in the second condition, we can use past simple and future simple in the past, but the meaning of the sentence is related to present and future. Because of this reason, the number of students have difficulty in differentiating the meaning of the sentence. Next problem is form. Would in both conditionals. In the second condition, we can use future simple in the past and the future perfect in the past. That's why some students difficulty in the differentiating the second and third type of conditionals.
Next slide.
Delia, can you continue?
And the next problem is like a misunderstanding of the pronunciation. As you know that whenever native speakers are talking, they usually try to use shortening just maybe strategies, and at that time whenever they are using certain words in a shortened version, some students cannot understand that thing at all because there are several reasons. The first one is just whenever they are learning the language as a how to say second language or as a foreign language, they have less practice. As you know that teachers also, while they are teaching several groups or several just learners for a year, at least maybe 5 or 7 times they just teach the subject, and the just pronunciation teaching is usually overlooked. And the next problem is about like a tense relations. If it is like a present a form or just conditionals, just first we usually use just present simple and in a just connection with the future one. And if it is like a conditional two, whenever we are going to talk about like unreal situations, we usually use past form with the future in the past. And the last one is like an oversimplification of pedagogical grammar. As teachers are trying to explain the rule again and again till the students get understand or just visualize that thing, it is getting too easy to just they're trying to make it easy and easy. And whenever students have this kind of like opportunities, they are trying to ignore that thing or they're not studying that thing very well. And the next slide is
Yeah.
Next
There are
slide, please, Mr. Sam.
okay here. Zulfuzar will talk about.
Okay, there are some linguistic perspectives on conditionals. For example, Naif and Hajjaj, 1997, cited that there are 3 points of conditionals in teaching: forms of the verb, time reference of the verbs, and the meaning of conditionals. To tell the truth from my experience, some students have the trouble in mixing second and third conditionals because of complexity of structure. I must emphasize one thing that in order to learn conditionals effectively, students should learn all tenses before. Next slide, please.
So now we came to a pedagogical approach to teaching conditionals. So there are different ways of teaching conditionals. So they are inductive and deductive. So which methods can be more beneficial and useful for the students? So today, previous slide, please, Mr. Sam. So today we will talk about how to teach conditions inductively. So uh, as usual, so we will be organizing this English class with introduction. So in the introduction, we present the topic. We can present the topic deductively or inductively according to the students' needs and demands. So this time we choose present it inductively. So next we move on activation part. We will do some activities according to this. So we should teach the real conditions after students have already learned the unreal conditions. After students really learn real conditions, otherwise it will be difficult for them to understand this grammar point. So in inductive teaching, we should provide a lot of practice at the beginning with the presentation. So the students should be exposed to real immersion of the second language. So we should use authentic materials like pictures, videos, and at the end of the lesson, we shouldn't forget to provide the structure of the conditionals because uh, it is because this conditional sentences uses past tenses even though it means present and future or it is imagining situation, so students may be confused. So if we don't cover the structure of the grammar point. So could you move on to next point, next
Mm-hmm.
slide please. So when we are teaching, so this is the beginning of the presentation part. So how we can teach inductively the students. So if we don't teach the rules directly, so we should provide some authentic materials, as I said, like pictures or videos. So our teachers this time are adults, so we choose pictures and videos rather than total physical response. So adult learners may take negatively if we teach them with total physical response because they think that it's childish activity. So we can use pictures and videos. So in this first picture, conditional sentence describes imaginary situation of cause and effect in the present or unlikely situation in the future. Like this, we can give pictures like this. So this is Dan, and he hasn't got money. He wants to have a lot of money and travel around the world. So, sorry for spelling mistake here around. So now he's dreaming about it. It is very unlikely for him to win the lottery. So Dan is dreaming. If I won the lottery, I would travel all over the world. And next slide. So next example. This is student Lucy. So she always dreams about future. She wants to be president, but she knows that is very highly unlikely for a student to become president. And now she's dreaming. If I became president, I would end the war. So this is her imaginary situation. She is not a president. She's a student. Just she's dreaming about it. Zulfizar, could you speak about the next slide?
Okay. Can you move on next slide, please, Mr. Sam?
Just a moment. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, next example is two friends meet and one of them very sick. A healthy friend tells the sick one that he should go to the doctor. He's giving advice. If I were you, I would go to the doctor. The second condition of the sentence aim to give advice for someone. Next slide, please.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the next slide talks about conditional third. Here, as we mentioned it above, is for subtitles that whenever we are talking about like as conditional third, we are just the meaning about regret. If you pay attention in the pictures at Susan, and she was young, but she didn't study hard and she couldn't enter the university. And right now she's sitting and she has no job and she just regrets she didn't study well when she was a young girl. And she says that if I studied hard, for example, at that time, I would have entered the university and everything would be different. As you know, that one is like a really easy for the teachers to teach, but whenever we meet the students, it's really hard because here we are talking about past simple, then we are talking about future in the past perfect. So, in order to understand or comprehend this kind of like a conditional third, you should have good grammar knowledge about tenses. Can you move next slide, guys?
So we should, when we are teaching unreal conditionals inductively, we should provide as many practice as we can. So students should be given adequate time to practice the grammar point. If you think that teaching If you need to spend on teaching one class on second conditional and another on the third conditional, and it is also okay. So just in this presentation, we just collected two of them. So in this point, when we are providing pictures, we should help students to make the sentences on their own. And in this case, their examples will be more real for them, and they can base on their real own lives. And at this point, we can check whether they are using grammar correctly or not. And then we can provide some parts of the movies or videos from different TV series. So we provide here we took two movies, Friends, very famous movies, and Big Bang Theory. So can we watch them now?
Yes.
Oh, that's good. All right, Phoebe. Okay. If I were omnipotent for a day, I would want world peace, no more hunger, good things for the rainforest, and bigger boobs.
Only visible, not audible.
Well, so you took mine.
As usual, yes.
Chandler, what about you?
That's okay. If Mr. Sam hears, it's okay. You don't have to hear.
You don't have to hear?
Guy. Vida, where's
We will send the video.
Okay.
So the most important person is Mr. Sam here.
Meanwhile, you can read what's happening on the screen.
Excuse me?
Hey, if little Joey's dead, then I got no reason to live.
Yes, there's also the subtitles here, which is more easier for learners.
You are?
So,
I had no idea. I thought it was like.
And I should tell you that it is for adult learners, not
you're
young
very,
learners.
very adult learners.
Yes.
Yes, that's fine.
Like,
And the next one is Big Bang Theory. I think all English learners know this theory, TV series.
I'm sorry for every mean thing I ever did or said to you. I'm sorry too. It's all my fault. If you weren't my friend, there'd be a hole in my.
okay, I'm trying to make it possible for you to hear. Let's see. Okay, no, seems like not possible. Okay.
Thing I ever did or said to you. I'm sorry too. It's all my fault. If you weren't my friend, there'd be a hole in my life. Thank you, Sheldon. I'm sorry for every mean thing I ever did or said to you. I'm sorry too. It's all my fault. If you weren't my friend, there'd be a hole in my life. Thank you, Sheldon. If you weren't my friend, there'd be a hole in my life. If you weren't my friend, there'd be a hole in my life.
Okay, that's it, right?
If you
Come
weren't my
on,
friend,
next.
there'd be a hole in
Yes,
my
that's it. Yes. So here we provide more examples for activities when we are teaching conditions. So we can use matching exercises. So as we said, so conditions consist of two parts: if part, a cause part, and effect part. So and we can make one list cause parts and another list effect parts, and we can make matching exercises so that the students can work on the form more. And another exercise is activity is a wish list. They can make wish lists, so they can ask questions from their friends, and what would you like to do when we were something like this. So then they can make wish lists for their friends. And another example is scrambled sentences. So it also helps students to work on their on structure, on the form of the sentence, how to do it. So as we know, conditions are really difficult to structure at first when we are starting to learn it for the first time. So then we can use music if I were a rich man from Fiddles on the Roof, and another one, student survey. Student survey activity is more focused on meaning rather than form.
Mm-hmm.
So could you please next slide? Delia, can you speak about the activity?
Just hold a minute.
Okay.
Just a second. I was just trying to record it. For some reason, it's not showing the whole picture.
Big Zod.
Okay. All right. Strange. The slide is not captured. Okay.
Should I start?
Yes. Yes. Please.
Okay, here we are going to just show you one activity, and before just telling you how to do that thing, I'm going to give you some kind of information about its like objectives and level and just group of like students. The first objective of the activity is we are just covering grammar here. It will be developing conditional accuracy. Here, we mostly pay attention to the language use of the students, as if they are using correctly the tense or not. That one just takes a first role. The next one is
Okay. Yes. Please. Sorry. Go
the
on.
next one is like we are going to activate students like a schemata. It is about their just background knowledge, and the last one is about like enhancing students' authentic speaking, because the task is like to talk about like an issue in their own country. So whenever they are talking about the issues, they feel that it is real life situation. And the target level is pre-intermediate, and the number of like students, it will be 8, and we are going to use here the method is CLT and the new technique called conversational shadowing. Conversational shadowing technique was introduced by Murphy in 2011. It is what kind of like a technique. Students will be given a certain structure and certain words in order to use, and using the structures they produce their just speaking skills. And the time for that thing 18-20 minutes if there are 8 students in one class. Can we move the next slide?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here instruction. Learners will be provided with a sentence starter, and it is like if I were a leader of my community, I would. And the continuation must be done by the learners. Here we are going to practice conditionals second. Then, how to say, they should just talk about the issue in her or his community for a minute. In order to talk about that thing, they have certain, just how to say, maybe rules. The first one, they talk about kind of like issue there is in their community, and why that issue is causing problem, what kind of like a solution could be applied, and the effects would be. If you pay attention here, we are using not only just conditionals, but we are using here present simple as well. We just how to say, create this activity as a form of IELTS, because you know that whenever you are in IELTS part 2 speaking, you should use different range of like a tenses. That's why in order to activate their all just background knowledge, background, for example, grammatical input, we are going to use that thing. But just how to say, difference between them, whenever it's like a real IELTS, they talk about for 2 minutes, but here they are going to talk about like a 1 minute, but they will be given 2 minutes to prepare their speech. Can we move the next slide? Here, linguistic perspectives, justification why we have chosen that thing. The first one is about like a Jack Rich, 2004. He stated that whenever we are learning any kind of like a grammar, it must be just grammar. It must be some kind of like a just fun. And the next one is like whenever students are talking about like their community problems, they are sharing their just how to say opinions at first, then they are sharing their feelings and their learnings as well. And the next one will be given by Firuza.
Uh, so I'm going to talk about noticing hypothesis by Richard Smith. The noticing hypothesis, so it is very related to today's our topic. So the noticing hypothesis is a concept in the second language acquisition proposed by Richard Smith in 1919. He states that learners cannot learn the grammatical features of a language unless they notice them. So noticing alone doesn't mean that learners automatically acquire the language. Raises the hypothesis states that noticing is the essential starting point for the acquisition. So as you said, as you see, we try to provide many examples as pictures and videos so that students can notice the rule, structure, and meaning of the grammar point. So another point is given
Next
by
one is
William.
like
Another point is
technical
given by
like
William. Okay, Delia, it's your
yes.
turn. I'm sorry.
Okay, the next person is Kumari Diveli. Just he just maybe created 10 macro state strategies of like teaching second language in 1994. According to his ideas, for example, it is really artificial to teach just one skill. We should always integrate them with another one and another one. As just other scholars, maybe other maybe teachers, instructors, they are just ignoring teaching grammar. Mostly they pay attention teaching listening, reading, writing, and speaking skills. But grammar they usually do not pay attention. But some kind of like a books like a Scott Thornbury, we are just looking just right now, just studying his articles. He's just suggesting us to just teach grammar as a skill, and we should align that thing with another one, speaking, listening as well, in order to have just authentic, just maybe atmosphere in classes. And the next person is like a pre-last person is Flavel in 1989, and he just told that metacognition is inborn ability to judge our thinking and learning. In order to create metacognition on ourselves, we should have other skills as well. It means, for example, whenever we are given any kind of like a statement, we should just start about that thing, evaluating, thinking, planning, producing, all in all. And the last one is like a William, and it will be just introduced by Firuza.
And William and Doty also approved Schmidt's noticing hypothesis, and they say that living learns to discover form function in the relationship and intricacies of a new linguistic system wholly on their own. That really makes sense. So they together approved discovery um, approach. So, Zulfuzar will conclude our podcast now.
Hmm. Next slide, please. Moving on to conclusion, teaching conditionals is easy process maybe for teachers to teach, but learning conditionals is some kind of difficult process for students to learn. That's why. Uh, if you find that you need to spend one class on the second conditional and another one on the third conditional, that's no problem. Because if the teacher teach second and third conditionals, it's the same lesson. It may be difficult. There is a proverb: practice makes perfect. Yes. After teaching conditionals, students are required to practice more, and so it takes the time you and your students need. Thanks for your attention and being online.
Thank you very much.
And being awake and online. Good, good. Oh, good. Reference is nice. Google.com, blah, 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 blah. No, this is not the reference. First of all, we have to make it alphabetically correct. So first you would start with those. But Google and other stuff, these are the images,
So
right?
I made the reference of pictures here.
You should use
So
the direct,
pictures.
the main source of these pictures. I mean, this is not
Uh-huh.
otherwise you can write Google to everywhere.
So
Yeah.
we can find it directly.
Yeah, when
So
you click on it, it will show you the exact source. But it's okay. Okay,
yeah,
but
okay.
it's good that you tried
Mm-hmm.
to. There's just a different order need to be done. Good. Okay, nice. Good. So we had it here. Okay, the slideshow. You see my screen, right?
Yes.
All right. WebEx is clear. This one is. Okay. So who else was supposed to conduct the presentation?
Group
We
E,
have
we have
group
also,
F.
Mm-hmm.
We have also group F.
and Group E as well.
Mm-hmm. Just a second. So, for example, now can you see the slide full screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me open the next. So next one is Arafat. You sent me the slide, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
This is
So,
ours.
so your presentation is next. Oh, okay. Good. And how can I find you? Okay. Let me search. This one, right?
Yeah, this one.
Yes, please start.
Can I start?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Uh, Hello, everybody. It's nice to be gathered with you again. And we'll discuss today teaching present perfect tense in English classrooms. Let's introduce our team members. Next slide, please. Hello. Arafat Ganokhojaeva, she is responsible for finding teaching methods and activities. Dilnaz Turgunbayeva is responsible for preparing PowerPoint presentation, and me, Nargiza Maulanova, I'm just responsible for data collection. And next, let me give the outline of our presentation. First of all, could you please move next slide? Uh, First of all, I will give description of the grammar point that we have chosen, and next we'll identify some teaching and learning problems, and then we'll give some suggested pedagogical approach to teach present perfect tense in the English grammar classes. And last step will be, of course, conclusion. And I want to ask you compare the sentence, which is next slide, please, Mr. Sam. There are given two sentences and with pictures. In the first sentence, past simple is used, and for the next sentence, present perfect tense is used. And I would like to ask you the reason why two sentence is used. Two tense is used in the with in two
Because
sentences. What's the
Marilyn Monroe
difference?
is dead.
Yeah,
Very positive.
Marilyn Monroe is already dead, and Brad Brad Pitt is still alive, and he can
alive.
star in many more movies.
Yeah,
And Brad Pitt
yes,
can
he
marry even more, right?
also.
I mean, he's alive, so
Yeah.
he has a chance to
Yeah,
marry.
Yeah, you were right. Of course, you were right. And I want to give some information about present perfect forms. The present perfect is forms using have, has, plus, past participle. Could you please move the next slide? And as we know, questions are indicated by interverting the subject and have had, and negatives are made with not. So if I give rational about present perfect tense, Leach and Starwick, according to Leach and Starwick, the present perfect describes a past happening which is related in some ways to the present, so it can be regarded as a tense of past happening related to present time. And all as a teacher all know about how when you use present perfect tense, but I want to give some rules how to use present perfect according to situations. Next slide, please. Present perfect use it for the action which starts in the past and continues to the up to present, especially with state verbs such as be, have, like, or now. And we use present perfect also uh, to announce a piece of news, and in the past simple or past continuous can to give more details about that. For example, there are given examples.
Hello.
Not because forces have pushed back the service and retaken the town. And next situation, the present perfect tense about general
Hello, you're disappearing.
experience, like with adverbs ever and never. Really? Am I audible?
Yes, now
yes,
audible.
you are.
Yes,
Hello.
you are audible.
Sorry, I
It's
thought
okay.
that you
It's
were
okay.
not
No,
hearing me.
you
Sometimes it
are
happens.
audible.
Okay.
Sorry for inconvenience. So we was after superlatives she's her saint. I don't want to define all rules of present perfect. So we will just move on to problems of teaching present perfect tense. Please, Nazar, can you give information about it?
Yes, sure. Next, yes. Hello everyone. Now we will discuss about teaching and learning problems of present perfect tense. The present perfect tense is one of the most problematic tenses for foreign language learners. Whilst when conducting research on students' learning process of tenses of all the English language tenses, it is the present perfect which causes the most problems between learners. And more than half of the learners in this process asked, why just I cannot I just use the past simple instead of present perfect? So Sven considers that the difference between the present perfect and past simple complicated, difficult to analyze, and the rules given in grammars are not always very clear and accurate. Next slide, Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Next slide.
Again?
No, no.
Mm-hmm.
Here you can see the four problems, four main problems. The first one as an optional alternative to the simple past tense. I have already mentioned this point. The second one, interference from the L1. Students speaking other languages sometimes misuse the present perfect tense in English because of interference from their mother tongue. For example, in German, there is no corresponding tense which is able to express all the different aspects of the present perfect. It's okay for Spanish or French language because they have perfect tenses. But in many of the European languages, the usage of perfect is not the same with English. Present perfect is used as a simple past tense. Another third problem is the repetitive process of memorizing irregular verbs of past participle. For example, go, went, gone. Learners mostly complain that they spend more time for learning and finding necessary verbs. It's tedious for them by looking at the infinitive form and try to recall the past simple than past participle forms. And the last problem is more focused on form and the complex rules. Teachers mostly structure of present perfect have has plus past participle rather than teaching it in context. Moreover, present perfect is quite abstract and have much more details. Therefore, students easily forget it and replaced by past simple. Okay, now it's time to move pedagogical approach in order to eradicate these problems. Arafat, could you share available teaching approach?
Yeah, of course.
Slide.
So,
Next slide, right? Mm-hmm.
yeah, can you move on to the next slide, please?
This one?
Yeah, so good morning, actually, to everybody. And I'm going to talk about pedagogical approaches and methods that are used in conducting activities with this kind of like in order to solve the problems which were mentioned above. So one of them is PPP approach. As you know, that PPP stands for uh, present, produce, and practice and produce. The last one. So if I talk about this approach, teacher's role here is to guide the students and to be the director of the uh, class. So am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, yes, you were
Yes, you are.
audible. You were audible.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So, secondly, teachers are supposed to be the director for the class activities and they have to correct the mistakes which are made by the students as well. So, but students' role here will be to participate actively in the all activities and pay attention to their mistakes. And the next approach, which is interactive
Hello.
method, and the next one is deductive method as well as inductive method as well. So as we know that deductive method is already outdated one, therefore nowadays it's not suggested to use this kind of methods in order to in order to correct the mistakes which are made by the students. So the next slide, please.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Sam.
Next, yes,
Thank you.
it's like slow,
So if
slowly
you pay
changing.
attention here, yes. So the first, the method that I'm going to suggest in order to use while teaching, so present perfect tense to lower level students such as pre-intermediate or low intermediate, it is suggested to use games, activities for different kinds of learning styles through using like interactive teaching. The next one is inductive teaching. This usually allows like students to generate rules and structures according to the examples which are given by the teachers. So teachers mustn't give any explanations to grammar rules, and teachers have to use different kinds of techniques and students in order to like help students to work on their cognition. And the next one is PPP, present, practice, produce. So actually, target grammar explanation is provided here. And in the next stage, in practice stage, learners have to practice it through different kinds of activities. And the last one is they have to produce final language product according to the activities or the demands which are given by their teachers. So the next slide, please.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Sam.
Okay, yeah. Such sentences are given according to the timeline of particular person's life period, and students are supposed to firstly make sentence in the past simple using the years of happening, and they have to describe those situations so far using present perfect. For example, Harry and his family have lived quiet since 1936, or it can be Harry and his family have lived in quiet for 44 years. Hello, I'm audible?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
sure.
You are.
Okay, Afat, can you explain the next slide?
So
It
the
takes like
next
3 seconds to
activity is
change the slide on
called
your screen. Mm-hmm.
that will take time. So we'll be patient in this case. So the next activity, which has been chosen by us, is called experiences. This is also included into interactive teaching, which is full of activities and techniques. So as you see here, different kinds of experiences, such as film experiences, digital experiences, health experiences, or school experiences, can be questions about this kind of experiences can be asked from the students, and students have to answer to these questions by using two kind of tenses. One of them is past simple in order to mention the beginning of the action, and they have to use present perfect as well in order to mention the duration of the activity so far. So, or as we know that present perfect tense is used for mentioning about amounts or numbers as well. So now it's time for Nargis to conduct this activity with volunteers.
Okay, thank you,
Nargis, go
Arafat. Thank you. Is there any volunteers to participate in the activity? Or should I call the names? Hello, guys.
We are here.
Who's next? Yeah.
Okay, Farangis, do you want to
Yes.
participate in the activity, our activity? Okay, Mister, could you please
Yes.
come back to the last slide?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Sam.
Yes.
Actually, this activity is organized for pre-intermediate level students. Therefore, it can be easy and boring for you. Therefore, imagine that you are pre-intermediate level student. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Farangis, have you ever met a movie star?
Yes, I've met several movie stars when I went to watch to see personal movies.
Okay. Have you ever broken a bone?
No, I haven't. Am I audible?
Okay. Yes, you were audible. Yeah. And have you ever taken a part in a video conference?
Yes, I've taken part in video conferences several times, especially in
Okay.
online classes.
Yeah, like grammar and culture. And
Right.
have you ever played truant?
Played what?
Truant.
Run away
Oh,
from class.
it's musical instrument.
No.
Yeah.
I have only tried playing the guitar and piano, but not this one.
I think
No. So
Okay.
it's
playing
like,
truant
yeah,
means like missing classes
yeah.
without
As
any
a missing classes, any excuse? Yeah.
excuses.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is playing a truant. Ah,
Yes.
yeah.
I.
When I was at university at my bachelor's degree, I have I did it several times.
Really?
Good.
Okay.
Good
What about
confession.
MA
No, not in MA
Oh.
TESOL.
Okay, thank you, Francis, for participating in our activity. And next slide, please.
So the next activity is called timetable. So different kinds of like occasion situations can be provided here related to one particular person. And uh, so as you see here, like from Monday to Friday, different kinds of like routine is provided here. Can you move on to the next slide, please? And as you see here, like there is a question for pre-intermediate level students. For example, it's Wednesday morning. Are the sentences true or false? According to the timetable given in the like previous slide, they have to find whether these like sentences are true or false about the person. So, for example, the Martin family have already been to Washington. So, as this is Wednesday morning, we know that actually they have planned to arrive in Washington in the morning. Therefore, we can say that it's so false because they have not already been to Washington yet. So, the next slide, please. These were all about our like presentation. As we have already mentioned it above, we have talked about the differences of past simple and present perfect, and they are usually not clear to students. Both students and teachers tend to pay attention to the form rather than meaning. And actually, like teachers fail in using proper approaches and methods to teach students or to overcome the weaknesses or problems they are entangling with. And the aforementioned suggestions about approaches and methods will help to solve those problems. So we know that present perfect tense and past simple tenses are usually confused by the students, usually, I mean, lower level students. And if the like above mentioned like activities are used by the teachers, different kinds of problems related to this can be solved, I guess. So this was our presentation about present perfect tense and its issues, problems. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Good. References.
Okay, there's a
Nice.
reference. Yeah.
Good.
If you have if you have a question, you are welcome to ask.
Why is the dollar increasing?
Because of virus, I think.
The economy is dying
Quarantine,
everywhere and
maybe.
should be like it should be vice versa, I guess.
Good question.
Yeah.
Many people are
Yeah, because
crying.
America is leading.
Yeah, so that's tough period. All right, good. Thank you. So we're coming back
Thank
to
you
our
also.
online. Okay, I stop sharing. Good. Okay. So the whiteboard, who switched on this whiteboard? Can just remove it, can we?
Switch it out, but I think keep this one.
No, we don't want to save it. Okay, good. All right, so we're back. Okay, everyone has finished their slides, right?
Mr. Sam, we have also
No.
One
presentation.
more. Okay.
Good
Yes.
morning, Mrs. Sam.
Hello. Oh yeah,
April.
Dalgasbay. Is Farid here?
Presentation.
Yes, yes. Good morning, Mr.
Okay.
Sam.
Great. Yeah, you know, you should be lucky, guys, to hear his voice because he does this rarely. So be active. Yeah, we want to hear your voice. All right. So Niluzar, Dalgasbay, and Farid, go. Take it away.
Okay.
Yeah. Come on.
Miss, Mr. Sam, I sent the presentation to you.
Yes,
Did you show?
it's I forgot to share the screen. My bad. Yes. Now you can see it sharing screen, right?
Yes.
Yes, go.
Let's
Can we
begin.
start, Mr.
Farid.
Sam?
Yeah, start.
Good morning to everyone. Today we are going to present about how to teach the prepositions for the learners of for non-native learners, and we will discuss about some problems which will be faced during the explaining the prepositions, and we will discuss about some approaches which is considered so effective in teaching prepositions. Can you move to the next slide? So this is our group team
Yeah.
members.
Next time we'll see
Ahmedullah
passports. Yeah.
Gülzar is the,
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
so Ahmedullah Gülzar is responsible for dating information about problems which is which will be in teaching prepositions, and Jalga Shamrat is responsible for designing the PPT and describing the grammatical points, and Ismif Liktes Farid, I am responsible for collecting information about pedagogical approaches.
Great. Okay, we see the
Next one,
content. Let's
please.
move on to description of the grammar point.
Okay. The description of the grammar point. We selected the prepositions of place and the identifying the differences from the time prepositions of time. And in the picture, you can see the in, on, at, three prepositions of place and the differences from the time. Prepositions are often called the biggest group. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yes, we can.
Prepositions are often called the biggest group of small words in English because these short words very important to uh, as glue between the sentences and gathering the sentence into one place. And the prepositions are used to connect the nouns, pronouns, phrasal verbs, and other words. And prepositions express relationships such as places, positions, times, or directions, and the objects. And the next slide.
Yes.
Mr. Mhm. Descriptions of the prepositions of place, at, on, in. Because these three prepositions are mostly used, and for example, at, it means in English language have 18 functions of using in the sentences, and also preposition of place allow us to very specific when talking or writing something, and where actions take place in story or some kind of in the discussions. And also these kind of prepositions support learners to communicate to each other and using these prepositions in their speeches. And the next slide, there are there are some examples of, for example, Tom is waiting for them at the corner. At it means that there's a certain place, a certain point, uh, and the next one is I was so tired that I took a nap in the car. In it means the interior and the of the object, and the next sentence is please put the book on the table. On the table it means the surface of something. And the next one, Niluzar will explain of the problems of teaching and learning prepositions.
Good morning, everyone. I will talk about teaching and learning problems of present prepositions. For example, when it comes to problems, for example, we use individual prepositions more frequently than other individual words. It means that prepositions can be different. For example, preposition of time or prepositions of place. And there are polysematic. For example, in can be both preposition of time and preposition of place, and it can be confusing for both learners and teachers. And in fact, the prepositions in, on, in, to, at, of are among the 10 most frequent words in English, and they can be used according to their meaning. And prepositions create the biggest confusion for students for whom English is a second language. For example, when it comes to for example, when it comes to the preposition in, it can be used both time and place. For example, in hospital or in an hour. And so that's why this problem uh, can be solved by teachers as by using different kind of methods. Okay. Most of the teachers felt that English prepositions are difficult to teach to non-native speakers for some key reasons. They are polysemy of prepositions, where different meanings change according to the text in which prepositions are used. For example, we can say we are at the hospital to visit a friend who is in the hospital. For example, in this example, from the hospital they can be used both at and in. It can be a problem for learners. And the next one, lack of a spoken and written guide on how to use prepositions. For example, while speaking in spoken grammar, prepositions can be used for somehow um, wrongly, and in written grammar, it can be used another way. For example, if we take an example, work can use in work or some in work or at work, and there are such kind of words. But but in written grammar, we can use at. And also native language interference. Native language interference can be, for example, many of us learned that it's always incorrect to end a sentence with a preposition. This is not true. For example, the rule actually states that it's incorrect to end a sentence with unnecessary preposition. Sentences may end with necessary prepositions. For example, the rule, where did he go to? Mm, Where did he go to? Is this example to is not used at the end of the sentence, but the and the next example can be, uh, for example, the idea that I agree with can be used at the end of the sentence. Only the problem we can use that necessary preposition at the end of the sentence. After summing up, teachers practice in this area. The authors provide a range of useful activities which may support preposition preposition, teaching, and learning. And now, Farid will speak about teaching approaches.
Yes, please, Farid.
Mr. Sam,
Farid.
can you move to the next slide?
Next slide. Farid will speak.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we when we teach the prepositions to Uzbek learners, there are so many problems. I think the biggest problem is the form of prepositions. We know that in English, prepositions will be in a form of word, but in Uzbek language, prepositions will be in a form of suffixes and they added to the noun. In this case, teachers have problems in explaining how to use the prepositions correctly. And the Turnberry 1999 mentions that in teaching the prepositions or any kind of grammar rules using contexts is very useful, and we cannot teach the single word or phrases without any kind of contexts. And as a task-based language teaching and the grammar in context help to keep the balance between fluency and accuracy, because when teachers teach any kind of grammar rules, especially prepositions, they should keep the balance between the fluency and the accuracy. Can you move to the next slide, please?
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, we should mention about two types of approaches. It's deductive and inductive approaches. We know that in our education system, many teachers use deductive approach because in deductive approach, they explain all the usage of prepositions, and they give to the learners a list of prepositions so that learners can remind all of them and use in activity. But in inductive approach, the learners are left to discover the rules and how to use the prepositions in context, and aim is to notice that learners can explore the usage of prepositions. Uh, Therefore, we cannot say that deductive or inductive method is the best approaches to teaching the prepositions, and teachers can select both of them, and both of them are effective.
Really easy to demonstrate in classroom. And sometimes it's very difficult to use prepositions correctly in English, and they present a number of problems and the difficulties for not only for learners and for teachers, because um, uh, in teaching system we use a grammar based elements, and also the activities, and not only grammar but also the communicative language teaching, because authentic materials, real life situations support learners to increase their critical thinking, and also the using the prepositions in their written and spoken grammar. And also, someone mentioned that media can be improve the learners using prepositions by developing activities based on the mass media, for example, radio programs, televisions, videos, and audios. And the next slide,
Yes.
Farid will
Okay,
explain.
now I will give some information about task-based language teaching. So many teachers or scholars find that task-based learning is the most effective approach in teaching prepositions, because, as we mentioned, that if you compare English and the French language, in the English language we say we walk in the rain, but in French we walk under the rain. In this case, some problems in interpreting the prepositions, and the task-based language teaching in this case helps us to identify the usage of prepositions, because the teachers give a context and the learners do the activities, and by practicing the usage of prepositions they can identify or notice the rules of prepositions.
Next slide.
Mm-hmm.
Farid.
So this is activity one, and this activity is suitable for the beginner or elementary learners. And at the first, teachers gives this activity, and after doing the activity, teacher explains how to use the prepositions of place, and teacher gives the explanations of them, and the main aim of giving such kind of activities is to give more information about the prepositions of place, and giving more practice so that learners can notice and discover how to use the prepositions of place.
And the
We
next
move to
slide.
the next slide.
And the next slide is about describing a picture. And the learners, uh, it's uh, it's suitable for pre-intermediate learners. And teacher gives provides the picture. It's a pair work, and one of them learner describes the picture, and the other one is should draw the picture on the paper. And it's useful to make students increase their speaking skills and use uh, prepositions, different kind of prepositions in their spoken grammar, and also use a new vocabulary or grammar structures, grammar rules, prepositions that they previously studied in the lessons. And the learner should explain the picture maximum for 4 minutes, and if he explains 4 minutes, he take 4 points. If the learner explains in 1 minute, he took 10 points for their work.
Okay, next. Yeah.
The next one is conclusion. Farid, new user.
I will speak about next slide, please.
Next slide,
Yes,
please.
conclusion.
In conclusion,
Mm-hmm.
explaining the rules of preposition is difficult without context. By using different types of approaches and interactive activities can help teach effectively. In short, they describe the preposition of place and the teaching and learning problems, and activity
Mom.
activity one is for elementary learners and activity two is for pre-intermediate learners. So thank you for your attention.
Good. All right.
We have also discussions.
Mm-hmm.
Farid, give the
Discussion.
questions.
Okay, the first question is, what is the main problem in explaining prepositions in our schools? We know that when we teach prepositions, we have problems in explaining how to use, and yeah, also we have problems in how to in form of prepositions, and teachers especially don't pay attention on explaining the usage of prepositions.
Well, it's mainly translation, probably. Yeah. Many students ask for the translation, and it's important to teach them just to acquire these prepositions in unconscious way that it goes with certain context, right? Like you may say listen to, you may say listen for sometimes if you're waiting for a signal, you know, or if we say just let's meet, why do some natives say let's meet up, right? What's the slight difference? But this would be something at higher levels. Uh, Probably this could be understood through what way? Guys? How these prepositions are
Yes.
learned. I think the best approach would be to learn them in context. Because if you learn
Yeah.
separately, you will never use them properly. You have to hear, see a sample, listen to a sample several times, Like when you say wait for, right? Many people make mistakes like saying wait, yeah? Wait me, yeah, sometimes. But then after
Yeah.
they hear many times the examples that they have to say wait for, and then you like, self discovery. Then you start to fix yourself because you listen to that many times. More suggestions? It's not only me here, or all of you are sleeping. Where are you guys?
No sleeping.
We're
Everything is
here.
clear.
Not clear. You're not answering the questions. The main problems. What
We are
problems do you
listening.
experience in teaching prepositions? How do you teach prepositions to your students? I just throw a book at them, yeah?
Sometimes we use translation. Sometimes we teach them with certain verbs or adjectives. For example, in vocabulary in use books, for example, there are certain sections. Adjectives they are following with prepositions. Verbs they are following with prepositions. In this way, we usually teach them with examples, of course. At first, we will just write some examples on the board. After that thing, for example, I make my students write themselves and then produce
Yeah.
and tell or share with
So
students.
you give like several samples of one verb. For example, look for, look after, look up, right?
Yeah, phrasal verbs.
And they try to figure out the
And then
difference.
at the end, I sometimes provide them the translation as well
So, do you think it would
sometimes.
be good to give several examples, like four prepositions for look, four preposition for um, come, for example, or it would be good if we just give different prepositions. Let's say you give look for, then came up, and then you give bring about. Which one would be easier, and why?
And one more thing, bringing authentic materials or reality into the lesson is also very effective while teaching prepositions for school level learners because they are really interested in real materials like bringing boxes or fruits and explaining prepositions through this such kind of materials is really effective, I think.
So you're answering partially to my question. So which one would be better? To give them sorted in the way like look for, look up, look something, something, or give different prepositions but within a certain context? Hello?
One context is preferable.
Yeah,
I
with
think in
different, because if
context.
you give a bunch of examples with look for, look up, they start confusing them. Was it look up or look down or look for or look after? Right? They start confusing because the beginning is, it's the same like if you learn by heart the words, let's say by topic, let's say I have the words related to health, or I start learning words from the dictionary, all the words that start with A. I mean, like if I want to, enrich my vocabulary. So I would rather have different words, but related to certain topic, right? Rather than just having a list of words that start with A or with B, right? Because they would be the same. Like you find antivirus, anti something, anti, and they're very similar, and you can confuse them. I enjoy talking to myself.
No,
No,
we are
we
listening to
are
you.
we are listening.
Well, at least I would like to hear you snoring, so you're online. Oh, yeah, like, okay. So I didn't hear anything from Gulvisar, Guzal. You're silent. They're definitely sleeping.
No, we are listening. No worries.
And we are here.
Uh, they will be active when we're discussing article.
Ah, okay. How do you think which approach is more effective? Okay, clear. Thank you so much. Nice. So, let's. So the
Mr. Khan,
article. Yes. Yep.
I have a question. Should we submit the presentations?
Yes. Yes. You should upload to Poster PPT. And in the comment part,
Okay.
please mention me.
There is no button
Couldn't
upload.
find submission button in
Oh, so it
Canvas.
will be open. So I'll
It
open
was
it now.
on the 15th of March.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's showing missing.
July. Yeah.
Just a moment. I can open that. I think there was a deadline, right? And that's why it closed.
Thank you.
Group poster press. Oh yeah. Okay. So I'll just keep the date open. Okay. Yes. So you should be able to upload that. All right. Okay. So the articles. We can shortly discuss that quickly, but what is very important right now is to work on the grammar activity task that you have to do this week. So I'm not giving you any extra tasks, but to work on these final assignments.
Thank you.
Yeah, because the time, so we have a small amount of time, but I would like to have a small discussion on those articles later on today. Okay?
Okay, Mr. Sam.
Yep.
Mr. Sam.
Yeah.
Can we discuss upcoming week's assignment instead of like discussing articles now?
Yeah, we're not going to discuss the articles now. That's what I'm saying. We're going to discuss these assignments that we're going to have this week, next week, and so on. The articles will be in the discussion, a discussion in Canvas. Okay.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Canvas, right? Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yes.
okay.
Good. So, if you look at the latest syllabus that I shared previously, you have to find 6 grammar activities. And if you remember, I requested you to find some articles, not articles, some examples of grammar. And I also shared some of the grammar exercises that focus on grammar as a product, process, and skill. Let's just shortly remember what's their difference. What is product, process, and skill? Hello? Product, process, and skill. What was the difference?
When grammar is a product,
We focus on
they are form. Now
Both
as a
form and forms.
meaning as well.
so product is focused on structures and grammar. It's the main focus is on structures, formulas, etc. If you remember, you have exercises on the back of the book like Grammar Bank, or if you remember Murphy, it's also mostly grammar as a product
Yes.
because they drill to be correct with the formula. Or if you take Bonk, maybe, or Galitinsky and many others, Enterprise. But some of the exercise of Enterprise become like a skill, like in the upper levels. Okay, and as a process,
Is uses of the language.
for
It's a
example,
concept.
like this, if you
Regulates
remember the
language.
books like Fly High, yeah, like they usually teach you grammar for communication. They just take one sample, I have, and you start making sentences, right? Or in other books you can see there's I can pattern, and you start speaking about yourself. Yes, I can do this, I can do that, and they just give you a pattern, let's say, and use it just to communicate. The same is with natives. They just use grammar. Sometimes they may use their own grammar, like ain't, right? Like the way you learned Ghana. And if it's a skill, if we consider grammar as a skill, that's a question. Hello, everyone can talk. Farid, your voice.
Mr. Sam, is this activity skill? Grammar is a skill one.
No, I'm just sharing
It
a
is
picture. I'm just
grammar as a
asking. I'm
product.
not telling that. Yeah, this one is product because it focuses on swim or
But you have
swims.
written it like skill. That's why I'm asking.
It's written product here.
No, this one was product.
No, not this one. Next one. I'm sorry. I saw it on Telegram. That's why
So first,
I'm
what
confused.
is skill?
If it's skill, it should be used in communication orally, or
No, it's
it
not
can be
or.
written. It can be in written form.
It's
It
not
should be
or.
used in the purpose of
It's not
communication.
or.
It is balance between
It is
product
and.
and
It is
process.
and. It is both. For example, in this case, I would have to understand the meaning first, then I would have to understand what formula to use. And in this case, I would use both meaning, process, and product, right? This formula. Like my name, and I'm like, okay, I cannot put come, go, live, not enjoy, and study, but I can put be, but I cannot just say my name be. I can say my name is. You see, so first I think of the meaning, then I think of the formula or correct conjugation. So that makes me to think of the skill. Or when you have long context, like there is a context, right? Long sentences, and you have to look back before you use the formula in ahead. That would be also a skill. So skilled means when you consider both of them.
Sam, I have a question here.
Mm-hmm.
May I ask?
Yes.
According to the book, the chapter 9, Batson, they were given that integration of grammar with reading and listening
Mm-hmm.
tasks
Yes.
also can be considered
Of course.
a skill, yes?
Yeah, of course.
Such complicated tasks for our activity
Mm-hmm.
analysis.
Yeah, of course. It can be noticing skill. Sometimes they give you a text and
Uh-huh.
ask you to find past tenses because they use, let's say, past perfect, present perfect there, and you have to highlight. It could be in that way. First you notice, or they give you a text with mistakes, grammatical mistake, and you have to find and fix. Yeah. Well, there are different
Yes.
grammar activities you can find in the middle of the book of CLT usually. Like when you open Unit 2B, for example, and there's a grammar section, and they have some meaningful activity, like related to the text or something else. But when you open the grammar bank, that's it. It just goes grammar sentence only. Yeah. I hope you have
And
looked through this Bedstone examples. Yes? What was that?
rewriting and structuring activities also considered
Yes. Yeah,
grammar skill,
it
yes?
could be rewriting. For example, you give a sample of someone's biography, and there are some verbs, or you should fill in the gaps and then write about another person. So first you would put the words in. If it says past simple, so it's clear, you just put the its product. You put the words. Also, there is meaning involved because you should put the right word in the right gap. And then you would be asked to write about someone using the same verbs. And that would be more of a skill because you have to create and consider the whole logic of the sentence. Some pictures, you see, there could be some pictures given as you see. Did you look through the examples? I think no.
Yes.
Yes, and did you find some, like I told you? But I remember yesterday at night you started discussing and sending different things. 11:55, your favorite time. I'm a risk
Mr.
taker.
Sam, can I ask
Yeah.
a question?
Yes.
Uh, Based on my own perception, I understood that grammar as a product is a mechanical task, which is
Yeah.
for lower order thinking. And if
Mm-hmm.
it's process and skill, it should be higher order thinking and should
Yeah.
allow students to use their own language, and there shouldn't be limited control. Yes?
Yes.
Or
Skill.
is it okay? There is limited control.
So you would use it for communicative purposes. So they start using grammar, even though it could be with some mistakes. Let's say they say he speak English, right? Not speaks, but they are using it as a process. They are communicating. At least you understand that the person is speaking about the present situation. And yes, like you said, product would be if I just give you some sentences like use present simple, right? So you may not understand the words there, some of the verb in the brackets. For example, I don't know the word, let's say, bring, yeah? And I just know the formula that I should put S if it's he or she, so I write, he brings books every day. But maybe I don't know what does bring mean, but I know the formula. So there's no high order thinking. It's just put the formula and go. So let's see. Here we have some examples. If you look through, so there's a product examples. Well, this one is older book, but I think you have lots of books that you use, Headway, English File, and so on, that you can use. Creating question, yeah, here. Who, what, whose, so you just put in the right place. It's more of a getting matching task. Let's see some other
How about
passive
this one?
sentences. Passive sentences, optionally the structure needs doing or to be done. Because here it's more of a focus on grammar because they give you two options. Like you say, American continent discovered or was discovered. Yeah, they give you two options. So this one is product. Yeah, because they give you ready examples, and you just have to choose one of the grammar structures. But
if there is no ready
if there is
example,
nothing,
then
yes,
it will
that could
become
be
a
even skill.
problem.
Yeah, even if they give you different words and they don't tell you what tense to use, that would be more of a skill. You know, like those kind of exercises that you have in the end of chapter as a revision, like they revise all grammar that you learned, for example, over past 5 units. Yeah, that would be skill because you would have to understand the context, the timing, is it passive or active, and then put the right formula and use the word. So that would require a lot of thinking, right? Before you just put the formula. Okay. All right. So this one is easy one. So when you give options or you give no options, but the whole context. But that would be even higher level. So we can even understand that in the beginning levels, you would have low order thinking exercises. If we again open some of the New English File books, let's say, beginner level, for instance. So here we have listening, speaking. Okay, so here's grammar, you see? Here's more like a process, right? So I teach you just I am and you are, and that's all, and we start talking. So I'm just making you to acquire language. I'm not teaching you grammar. I'm trying you to acquire it and copy paste and use it, right? Hello, make some sound.
Yeah. Yes, we are
Good.
listening.
Okay, but not
Mr. Samaha,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
do we need for our week six assignment create these kind of activities
Yes.
ourselves?
You may
Yeah.
create or you may modify. You can take them. Let's come back, yes, to the description. So we have cover page, pertinent information, MF students course. Well, it's clear, you know, the page. So first one, select 2 grammar activities which fall under each 3 approaches, which means you will have 2 activities for grammar as a product, 2 activities for process, 2 activities for skill, overall 6. And then when you open, so here you have criteria, right? Small criteria you can see, like a number of questions over here. So how much emphasis is there on form or the meaning? So is there much just formula or it's a little bit of meaning? Are there any noticing for you? You can get the ready activity. I think you can spend less time because mainly you have to analyze the activity, not create. Okay, so you can take the ready ones, but make sure that you take.
Nargisa,
Yes. So make sure that
please.
you take different sources. Okay, don't take all exercises from one book. We need some diversity. Yeah, take one activity as a product from Headway, let's say, another one from Murphy, or anything that you use often, but different sources. Are there any noticing features? So do they require you to notice some grammar? Let's say they give you some examples, then they ask you to underline, and then they ask you to produce something, yeah? How much emphasis has been placed into self-discovery? What do you understand by self-discovery?
We need to research, make a research according to this activity.
What sort of research? Like scientific research?
They shouldn't discover the truth. Not research. Students will discover the grammar
Yeah,
without
you should you should reach that level of like I got it.
yeah.
That kind of level. That's right. Yes.
Mhm.
So you should
But in the
see.
product activity, you discover that.
No, if they give you, I'll show you. In Murphy, if you notice, they give you example, then they give you a sentence which is um, almost ready, but they give you the verb in the brackets, let's say, and they put in the, let's say, I bought a book. They give you I and the buy in the brackets, and then the word yesterday in the end. Yesterday at the shop, let's say. And the next sentence, they could maybe remove the word yesterday too. So they would ask you to use some words related to past, but this would happen after several examples. Let me. Murphy does have such examples, by the way, but should just find it. I'm not sure where I had it. Murphy, your favorite book? No. In enterprise, I guess also they have such activities. When they give you like ready sentence, then they give you 90% ready sentence, then they give you 80% ready sentence, then they give 50, and the last two sentences they say, now make sentence about yourself. You remember such exercises? They slowly move to more of a, you become more independent. But some books, yeah, they just give you the same formula. They give you brackets, they give you the word yesterday in the end, and they ask you to notice. But I think the self-discovery would happen when you have an example and you have to remake it. Let's again come back to that book. I'll show you some samples that you would see probably in many books. So when you choose grammar activity, it shouldn't be only grammar bank, okay? It can be grammar activity in the middle of the book, which is connected to reading. For example, here, you see, here it says write sentence in the past simple. So it's like he watches, he watched. They work, they worked, yes? So you kind of discover it later on. And if they add some words of the past, then you would move on to self-discovery. Or they give you some more examples here, and then in the end they will ask you to make sentences on your own. For example, this one, yeah, this morning, yesterday, you see? This one is focusing on from present to past. So I have for breakfast, so I had eggs for breakfast this morning, so they ask you to use some words. Self-discovery would happen more when you do comparative grammar, like present perfect, past simple, difference, conditional 2 and 3. So you start discovering like, oh, I should change the formula, or I should focus on past. I mean,
So
just
it's something like noticing, yes? In
yeah,
this
it's like
case,
you
students
notice
both notice
the
and
difference. Yeah,
discover.
yeah, you notice that there is a difference, and then you start using it, and then you understood. So this is a self-discovery. That's right. You're right. Yeah, and
These sort of activities learners discover according to the examples given in the sentences, right?
yeah. So for example, here, would you say this is high order thinking or not?
No, it's
No, right?
lower
It's
order
lower. You
thinking.
just put the ed, and they don't use irregular verbs even here. They use only regular. If it involves maybe
So
regular,
this
that
is
would for
product activity.
yeah. This is more a product. How about this one on the right side? How much you would need to think? A bit
It's a
more, yeah.
process.
Where did you? I think it would be a skill because I should think about the formula and the meaning.
But the language is limited.
Oh, it's more of a oh yeah, it's just a plus minus, so it's like middle. So it's plus. Where did you, what is it? Where did you park your car? I parked it near the restaurant. Um,
Isn't it
No, it's not
process?
process. I mean, you're not using it to communicate. You're not just throwing a meaning, but you are more of a thinking of formula and meaning. Because if I
Skill.
just know the formula, can I finish this sentence? Just formula but no meaning. Let's say I don't know
Yeah.
what does park mean. Where did you park the car? I parked it near a restaurant. Yeah, it looks more of a product again. Yeah, it's more like product, not
It's
process and
product.
not even skill. Because they give me the ready verb here. If they mix the verbs, let's say, right, in the different order, and they would ask me to choose the verb, I think that would be more of a skill. Because I should choose the right verb, which I understand the meaning, and then put in the context, right? Because if I take study, where did you study the car? I studied it near a restaurant. That would make no sense, right? Are you getting right? So,
Yeah.
more example. Let's look through that syllabus once and the guidelines. And so you choose certain activity that you think is a bit strange, maybe something is weird, and you discuss the advantages disadvantages using this approach. Do not make it informal, please, okay? Like, I think it's wonderful to use this activity. I think it's boring. Don't speak like that, you know? I mean, it should be a very academic style, right? This activity has certain advantages. The first one is this, yeah? So, no, I think it's wonderful, it's beautiful. Not like that. Some of the demerits should be listed, such as this and this, as it requires or as it looks quite confusing to a student to analyze the difference between this and this. Okay, so just more of a research language. And suggestions to improve. I don't know, maybe you could make an audio example, or you would like to add video sample, or you would like to pictures, maybe add some pictures and make up a story. In other words, grammar is a process. How much opportunity in general is there for language use? How much support is provided for the learner? You see, it's mainly about communication. This kind of activities, I guess you would find in the middle of the books. You know, when they say, yeah, hello, I'm Sandra, and you, I'm Jack. Yeah? And it should be such grammar that instantly forces student to practice the language. All right? Not just you see, so that's why the grammar bank is completely off the process. In the grammar bank, maybe you could see some grammar as a skill sometimes. So here it's just communicate. You see some grammar, communicate. Grammar, communicate. Again, advantages, disadvantages, and suggestions to improve. Same questions in the end. Skill. Our
Mr.
learners.
Sam,
Yes?
could you show us some examples for process? Because I'm confusing about the
Okay.
process activities. Because I have looked through several activities and I had difficulty in finding process of activities.
We can also
It
look
would be better.
at, yeah. So usually you have any unit starting like this, and here they show we are, what are they, Chinese, Japanese. So this one is about nationalities, right? We are Japanese. Are you German? Yeah, it looks like German. They are, they are who? Mixed. They are English. Oh yeah, this Britain, right? So they are English. So this would activity would involve, for example, you put flags. If you have flags in your room and you put the flags on the table, two students will represent one country, and you say, okay, let's speak. Okay, you don't just open the formula and say, okay, look at the board, I am, you are, like Domla style, but you do. You start making them to communicate. You say, okay, and you put the Korean flag, and you say, I'm Korean, and you, and they say, okay, we are Chinese, and you would speak like, okay, look at them, where are they what are they, let's say, or where are they from, and you say they are Turkish. By looking at flags they would communicate. You see, here there's no much focus on formula. You just speak and repeat, and you ask them to repeat. Like, how do you conduct your first class to beginners?
Sam?
Sometimes you teach them, just a moment, so you teach them, my name is, right? You don't explain why it's my and why its name is. You say, okay, my name is Sam, and you ask them to repeat. Yes, what's the question?
But this activity isn't it skill?
No, I'm not thinking about formula much here. I'm not thinking of a big context. I'm using it to communicate. Skill would be a bigger exercise. Like if you ask me
But this,
to write about something, like it would be a bigger grammar. First, it wouldn't happen in beginner that much. Let's say if I teach you I am, you are, and other things, then I teach you how to use to be. Yeah, like I can use to be for age, nation, job, and etc. etc. And then I would say, okay, now please write about your family. But first, I will give my example that I wrote about my family. Yeah, I say my name is Sam. I'm 30. I have. Uh, Sister, brother, and blah blah blah. My brother, and I say my brother is a doctor, or I just say he is a doctor because I'll teach you he is. I didn't teach you my, so I'll just say I have a brother. He is a doctor. He is 35. He works. No, he works. I wouldn't say because I'm teaching you to be only. And then I would ask you as a home task, most likely, to make such a small essay. That is a skill because you should think of your family, you should think of the formula, you should not confuse he and she, and then you should produce a nice small essay. Make sense?
Yes.
Are you
So
getting to that
so
aha
if it's
moment?
a process, yes, if it is a process,
Just
after
communicate.
noticing, there should be communication. Yes,
Yes,
students
that's
should
right.
practice it.
Listen, imitate. Yeah, yeah. Listen and
Mm-hmm.
imitate. But process would be like you study the structure with me, you practiced process with me, and now I say, okay, now you produce something on your own. You create your own essay. That would include maybe new vocabulary a bit, and it would include all formulas. So you would think about, okay, I have a sister, brother, I have neighbors, mother-in-law, father-in-law, etc. Yeah. Best friends. Dushman tarapik. Yes, okay. And
All oral activities, yeah, not written.
no, it could be any. It could be written, it could be oral, all of them. Maybe you could listen to example and then copy. Well, listening maybe would work for process, I think, because you listen and then try to repeat. And skill, I think, would be more on speaking and writing, because you would use everything, yeah? You will try to produce. I ask you to write about your family and speak about your family, yeah? So that would be completely skill, because you have to gather all information except for the formula. Okay?
it's kind of self-expression and
No, it's not
meaningful.
self-expression, but I could ask you to write about anything. Like, let's say today we discuss somebody's life. Let's say life of Michael Jackson, and we learned some of the verbs, how to use past simple, and I taught you some regular and irregular verbs. We had an exercise that was showing us biography of some person, some short biography, and then I say, okay, now you write about some person. So it's not only about you, it could be about anything. So you write about who? Will Smith, his life, let's say, or who? Steve Jobs, let's say. You decided to write about him. So you'll write and speak about. And maybe you could even make a presentation. This also would be a skill. Because you would come up, you would write something on slide, put some pictures, and speak. Yeah? Make
Yes,
sense?
it's clear.
Yeah? It's getting better,
Yes,
right?
Claire.
Uh-huh. Good.
Should we give critical analysis right after
Yeah,
the
you should.
each
Yeah,
approach?
you should explain like what are the good sides of this activity, how much those questions. So I think it's okay if you let's find some word amount. I think it doesn't really. I think it would be good to answer to each question with at least 4 sentences, maybe. Like how much emphasis is there on form and meaning? Yes. So you would describe like 3 maybe sentences on form or 3 sentences on meaning, let's say, because it involves two questions in one question. Are there any noticing
And
features? Maybe 4 sentences about this, but do not just limit yourself. Oh, Mrs. M said 4, not more, not less, not like that. But if you feel that you need to express more, feel free. Yes. What's the question?
And we should make them separate paragraphs, right? Of each question.
I think it would be good. I think if you have a separate section for grammar as a product, like you would have some title, maybe some lines that separate them would be good. I think you would do this way. Yes, that's a good idea. If you have a paragraphs, like so we
But
have like
for
5. We
questions,
have
all of the questions.
no, like you have 5 questions here, right? In a grammar as a product.
Hmm?
That's good. You would make separate paragraphs. That's very good. And if you start grammar as a process, I would advise you not to start with the next paragraph, but with the next page, maybe. I mean, if you have half page written of the product part, yes, and just jump to next page so it's clearly seen. Yeah, this is a product part. This is a process part. Okay, I think that would be comfortable to
I have
see
one
the
more question.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Uh, if you go a bit below, there is justification part. Is it okay if we give in the analysis of our exercise or activity? Because if we write it in a separate paragraph or in a separate page, it cannot be related. For example, it asks advantages, and I would give my
Yeah, you should of course include citations, not just like I think, I believe, la la la
yes.
la.
So
Of
the
course.
research part is already
Is
included in
included.
the
Yes, yes,
analysis.
yes. Whenever you discuss advantages, you say the most beneficial part is that there is a listening involved, and as Thornbury mentions, or as Krashen believes that behaviorism is one of the key features of learning language, right? When you speak about process, let's say copy pasting, right? Not copy pasting, skill. Sorry. So skill would go to Krashen, right? What was Krashen about? What kind of supporter was Krashen? تو
Natural
تو
approach.
تو bu telefon bilan vaqtincha bog'lanish mumkin emas, right?
No.
Right. So, Krashen was the persons to support cognitive learning, remember?
Yeah, natural
Yeah, so
approach. Yeah.
cognitive means you should understand the structure and why and how and then put the words. So this would be more of a process part, right? You could mention it's great if you refer back to SLA citations too. Okay, because every time you would be, when you do your materials development and practicum, you will have to mention everything from what you learned, from SLA, from testing, like a couple of citations from previous. Okay, so it's kind of a combination of everything. That shows that you remember everything. You didn't forget what was the name of your first teacher here. And if it's more of a behaviorism, who was the support of behaviorism? Can you remember?
Pavlov?
Hmm?
Levy. Was it Levy?
Wasn't it
Pavlov,
Pavlov?
Pavlov and
Pavlov? Yeah.
Skinner.
Scanner.
Skinner,
Skinner.
yeah.
Yes.
So you could open. You're free to open. You could say something about focus on form, focus on forms. Remember, we had also in SLA. You could also
Yes,
mention
we had.
um, Chomsky, social constructivism. You remember we had social constructivism as well.
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
social
Zone of
constructivism.
practical development.
It would
We had
be
also.
like the process, grammar as a process. Because what does mean social constructivism? You learn from each other. So one person
Yes.
starts speaking, and then you try to also imitate, and then you communicate, right? So this would be a part. So it would be really great if you mention something from SLA and the grammar module as well. Don't forget. Okay, so try to use citations and relevant. Don't just throw a citation without why I'm doing this. Like, the great advantage here is there is a sample of a sentence that students can follow up and then imitate. This sentence can be, the examples can be provided by the teacher, which would be, how can I say, in this case it would be grammar as a process, and in this case, behaviorism behaviorism concept could be applied, and then you mention Skinner, for example, yeah, like listening and imitating. In this way, grammar is learned unconsciously, so the language is acquired, right, for communicative purposes. So try to be super linguists, okay?
Okay.
Yes. All right. So research. So which means it's one of the. So research. They just want to remind you that you should not just speak like it's a diary, but a professional linguistic paper and research. So you can have.
Sam, I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry, and what is the deadline for this activity?
Because we have week 7 coming up, I would ask you to finish it by Monday, which means Sunday would be the last day. Or should I say Saturday? Because on Saturday you say, oh, Mrs. M, please prolong the deadline. Then you say Sunday, and then you say, oh, great, thank you, I love you, thank you so much. Well, yeah. I think I should play like that, you know, like play your game. Like you want to prolong it, I want to shorten it. So I say deadline today, then you say please prolong, then I prolong, and finally on Sunday you made it. I think we should play the same.
It's a new strategy.
Yes, same method, yeah, like against students, yeah.
It's not
So
about time,
okay,
but
so my bad. I should next time say that. So Sunday will be the last day,
okay.
or you will die. If you don't do it on Sunday, you will die.
Okay.
Okay. So
Sam,
personal personal evaluation.
Mr. Sama,
Yes. Yep.
uh, if we will start our work from critical analysis, because yes, the activities should be scanned on in the appendix part.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. You will put in appendix. Yes. You can just say activity number 1. So in appendix, it would be good if you have activity 1, and maybe you could write there grammar as a product. Yeah, grammar as a product, activity 1, and then you start your research.
It
Yeah, from
means
the start. Yes, you don't
we
need to
will
put
start.
activity in the middle. You can put them in appendix. Just mention that grammar as a product, activity 1, grammar as a product, activity 2, grammar as a processed, activity 1, etc. Okay.
Uh, we don't need the description of the activities. Yes, in the beginning of the
Uh, when you share that picture, I think of activity. For example, there's a tool of photograph. Yeah, you just take it from here. Let's say you just take this part. Yeah, like you took this part. You see, yeah, the highlighted part. Yeah, so
Yes.
you just take this part and put it, and you start with. So this activity was taken from this book. You could say. From this book that is related to past simple, and it requires students to communicate, to first of all put the questions in the relevant parts, and then ask each other questions and listen and check. The main advantage is that they can listen to correct pronunciation because they have listen and check. So it means if the teacher is not proficient enough in pronunciation, let's say, they could listen to authentic listening. Then they would do this, and you should find disadvantages. Let's say maybe they would need to add some pictures, or maybe what else you could add? What disadvantages you can find here? Yeah, maybe pictures. Okay, questions. So they would. You could add this activity because it doesn't say ask each other. You could add and say, then students can ask each other the similar questions. Where are you from? How old are you? What is it? Who is he, or what is it? What it?
Anyway, we should
Yeah.
give description in
Yes,
each of the
yes.
6
Yeah,
activities,
yeah.
right?
You just like give small description. What does this activity require you to do? But first, you discuss those questions that they ask here first before you. So first, you say that this activity asks you to do this, and you say there is a much focus on form, or there is a focus on language use, because it requires students to communicate and find information from each other. Right?
we will start from section 2. Yes, we will skip the first part because it's in appendix. In this
No. You put in appendix
We write
the
small
activity. Yeah,
descriptions
small description. What does this activity emphasize?
each
You
of
just
these
say, okay, this is
activities.
activity from this book, and it asks students to do this. Then you start answering the question one. How much emphasis on form, meaning if it's a product exercise. Is there any noticing? How much emphasis is on self-discovery, and what are the advantages? So here you describe. So as it was mentioned, this activity requires students to fill in the gaps and then listen and check, which helps them to listen to authentic English. And Thornbury believes it is really nice when students listen to real English. And da 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 da. And then you could say the possible suggestions would be, okay, don't say my suggestion. Okay, don't just say I my. Okay, keep it maximum formal. Just say that's why. Okay, some mustard was calling me. Okay, so what I was saying again. Where did I stop? So you did give short description. Where is the exercise from, and what does it ask you to do? You start answering questions. You say advantages. You say the possible suggestions would be ta 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 ta. Because
And
Thornbury
you should
believes,
mention
or yes. So you mentioned some of the linguists. You could take something from ESOL methods. Yeah, because it's about activities, improving activities. You could take some citations from Celsa Murcia, ESOL activities book. So the more you refer back, it's good. But do not make it like the whole research is only citations and know your ideas. Okay, so you tell so the possible suggestion is to do this because Krashen believes that ta 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 ta. Okay, like this. So you don't just throw your opinion. You give your opinion and support by linguists. So there is a Krisha behind you. Okay, your tank.
Mr. Sam, you should mention why we choose this activity, yes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We should mention why we choose this activity, yes?
Choose again. Can you?
This, this activity. Uh,
Uh, yeah, you could. Well, you could pick up any activity you like, but you know, uh, maybe you choose an activity which is already perfect. Yeah, and you cannot find disadvantages. Don't choose such activities because you will say, "Oh, there are no disadvantages. It's a perfect activity." Oh yes, we have form on meaning. Yes, we have noticing and self-discovery. Oh, it's beautiful. No problem. So don't choose such activities. But I'm not saying choose very bad activities. Choose like average. Okay, the activity that you really want to change. I mean, while you teach, probably you always modified some activities, right? Because there was something boring in activity. You would say, okay, let's skip this part, but we will do this. And you changed a bit the activity, right? So find such activities that you always wanted to change. Okay? Hello?
Okay.
So don't say that everything is perfect. So grammar is a skill, so it will be,
in the
yes.
is
Yeah?
the personal evaluation, there is a written. You
Uh-huh.
should mention why you choose this activity.
Why did you
Personal
choose this?
evaluation.
Yes, so probably there is a good part of it and there's some part that could be improved.
So, Mr. Sam,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
in evaluation part, should we give E factors and A factors also?
Sorry? Actors? What?
Factors, E factors and A factors.
Yeah, you could involve them too. So here we have for language which approach would be more acceptable in terms of factors such as time, constraints, preparation, regularly shared knowledge, familiarity with topics involved. Yes, that's a good one to answer in the end of these questions. So let's say, like when you finish this grammar as a product, yes, you finished all paragraphs, and in the end, you'd probably explain why did you choose these activities. Why did you choose
Mm-hmm.
these activities, and why did you want to improve them, right? In the end, that would make sense. Summarizing. Okay? Hello?
Okay.
It would be general some summary, yes, not
Yeah, yes. But you could include here citations too. Like, you could say um, mm, that you would prefer students to. You could use some I here because it's a personal thing. You could say, I prefer my students to learn English through communication more because that has that has quicker effect on their language use, and you could put some citation there. That would be good too. So just one citation and more of your personal evaluation. I think the personal evaluation, I would like you to give like, well, at least 10 sentences, let's say. At least. Okay, I'm not saying maximum.
at least.
Yes.
Okay.
10, 10, 10, 10. Yes, only 10, 10. That's 10 sentences here. So I'll just send you this picture to you guys over here so you can once again remember. Good. So this one is clear, right? This week 6 activity. Not so hard, but just I think if you divide it properly, let's say 2 activities today for product, 2 activities tomorrow, 2 activities next day, another day's evaluation. So which means on Friday you'll be ready. Yeah.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
Okay. So
And
you
what
agreed on
we
this
don't
deadline, yeah?
have any other
What about other tasks, Mr. Sam?
we don't have any other assignments till Sunday, right?
So
personally,
this one is a big assignment
nothing
that you
changed.
need to finish this week. Then we'll have week 7. But here, by the way, don't forget about this gram activity. This rubric. Rubric will help you that you're following everything because we'll use this rubric to grade you. Okay, so please follow that. It's in the syllabus, so it would be good if you print out.
Mr. Sam,
Mm-hmm.
do we have online discussion too? Yeah, video-based discussion for week 6.
No, we will not do that. We will do a discussion of this chapter that we had for today. From third grade.
When we will do this online discussion next
Today?
week?
No. Today we will do that, and we'll be working on your big assignments only later on. We may have discussion part, for what? For question and answers. I mean, maybe you have questions regarding this assignment, this big assignments. Because why we need that? We need evidence in Canvas that we're discussing. Because I know that you're asking me questions in Telegram, but Telegram is not official, right? I mean, Webster administrators have to see that we're working on their platform in Canvas. So I will open discussion there. It's not like a must thing, but you can ask questions there. Yeah, for example, you have a problem with this and that thing. I mean, you suddenly have some questions. So, by the way, look at this. So, overall 5-page response. So, it's not so much, considering that this is a 12 times New Roman, double spaced. Should be okay, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, now moving on to what is week 7? It looks very confusing for the beginning, probably. So, you see, we have no readings over there, but just one article on week 7. One article discussion there will be. I'll send it today. So we discussed the grammar activity task here. Final project 3 parts. So this final project is the main thing. I mean, this is the real final thing, even though we have week 8 and 9 in the end. Why we put micro teaching in the end? So we can just have presentation. You will demonstrate media support activity, how you use this. Hello?
Oh,
Yes,
we're
you're
here.
here.
Yeah, so we put it in the end because it will be just presentation week in the end. So final project on week 8 with 3 parts. So I wrote 3 parts on purpose so you don't confuse them with others. So if you go in the syllabus, it comes almost in the end on page 11. So it has 3 parts. It makes sense why. So because you have learner profile, description of the grammar point you choose of remedial teaching, and lesson plan for that student. So you have a student, you have your your laboratory rabbit. So let's look at this description over here. This project consists of 3 parts: learn for theoretical part of choosing grammar pattern and lesson planning. Choose one student who you are currently teaching of one of your group mates and get him/her to agree to sign consent form. You see the suggestion? So you choose the real student that you have or your group mate. Okay? Hello?
Okay.
Yeah, so don't be merciful. Okay, like, oh, okay, you're my friend. I will not criticize you. No. Destroy with grammar. Yeah. Interview him or her about his/her language learning experience, either via Zoom or telephone. Record your interview and attach the transcript of interview as well. Right? But you can also upload
What
this.
kind of interview?
You will so you will just ask about learning experience. Okay? You will just speak to them. You can ask different questions. You can take some part 1 questions from IELTS if you like, because the purpose here is to notice grammar issues. Okay? Yeah. So you do the speaking assessment, let's say, in that way, in unconscious way. You then, because you will record and then check, like, aha, you have this problem. Okay, get out of here. Get out of TESOL. And then ask your student or group mate to send one sample of writing, not plagiarize. Please check for Google, because we know we are professionals in plagiarizing. So you check their writing and try to find some issues if they have, but not punctuation much, but maybe it could be link words. So you should find the main thing, the main issue that you find. But I think interviewing your group mate would be hard to write such project, because you would have to make a lesson plan for advanced learner, because most of you are advanced learners, right? Yes, I are. Yeah. Right? So, I mean, most of you will have at least 6 in IELTS, which means you're upper and advanced. So it would be a bit hard. So I hope you're teaching someone online. Are you?
Yeah. Yeah, we are. Yeah,
So
we
it
are.
would be
Can
more
we?
preferable if
Yeah.
you have a real learner. Yeah, if you're doing. If not, maybe your younger brother or sister, you can meet online. I mean, imagining that they're your student, right? Somebody you have relative, you can speak on Zoom. So because your groupmate would be hard to analyze. They will have no mistakes almost, yeah? Most likely. Only articles, maybe maximum, I think. And I don't know, punctuation. So I think it's good if you find real student or some relative who speaks some English. But don't choose, please, beginners. Okay, something higher, maybe intermediate learners, pre at least, yeah? Elementary. So send a sample of writing. So you give them assignment to write about family, yeah, or because after speaking you notice some problems, yes, and ask some to write something related to that, maybe, or something different. Let's say your last trip, or describe your birthday. I don't know,
Mr.
anything.
Sam,
Yes.
is it okay we take their IELTS essays?
Yeah, it's okay.
They have already.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay if you take IELTS
We
essay.
do both written and spoken assignment,
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah,
Assessment.
yes. You should have spoken and written assessments, because you should find what's their grammar problem through these. Based on interview and writing samples, note grammar errors in speaking and writing. Yeah? Compare the grammar errors and find out the most similar errors. Okay, maybe they have many errors. Yeah, maybe they have problem with articles, they have problem with tenses, but you think, okay, this person has a lot of tenses problems. Yeah, so you focus on, and which tenses?
Systematic mistakes,
Yes,
right?
yes. What
We
tenses? They
should
have a
identify.
problem with conditionals. Maybe he always uses if I will do this. Yes, so he has conditional 1 problem, or conditional 1 and 2, or uh, past simple and past perfect. You notice, let's say, yeah, and you decide to teach to improve that person's problems. Choose one error for remedial change. So one. So you should find one problematic issue. Maybe they have many, but you should choose one which is most common in their speaking and writing. Okay? Yeah, so part 1, write language learning profile of the learner, including everything you found about him or her. Description of the grammar point you choose should include description of grammar point, indicate teaching learning problems regarding the grammar point, just like you did today. Yeah, you discuss some of the problems from teacher's perspective and from learner's perspective. Yeah, from both sides, and indicate pedagogical approaches. You did today. So, what approaches would be advisable based on Thornbury, based on Batstone, and many other people. So you would put here some citations and lesson plan. So you create the lesson plan for teaching these students. So that you know how to do this. You did it in curriculum development, right? So follow the same guidelines that you had before. And here you have. Oh, don't forget the consent form. Okay, let me just throw it over there so you just don't forget it. And you have a grading rubric. So when you do this, please look at these guidelines, because we will assess you based on this rubric. There are two rubrics. This is for lesson plan, and this rubric is for two parts, for learner profile and what was the theoretical part? Description of the grammar point. Okay?
Okay.
So I'm recording this video and audio in WebEx. I think I can share the link later on and download and share to other people who were not online, or for you to just to remember again everything. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Any
Our
questions?
last assignment in the form of presentation, right?
Yeah, that will be media.
We should present.
Yeah, that will be media micro teaching. So you will just demonstrate your media way of teaching grammar. So it also has its rubric over here. So it will be the last week. It will be week 8 and 9, because we will have different people presenting. Yeah.
Okay.
But you focus on week 6 and week 7 assignment first. So grammar activity analysis, and then you can even actually start at the same time doing this final 3-part final project. Yes. Yeah.
So, Mr. Sam, I have a question. When we created lesson plan in previous curriculum development module, we based it on SIOP lesson plan, right?
Yeah. No, you're not required to follow SIOP. You can choose any you like. I mean, your own style. If you prefer SIOP, it's okay. You can go with SIOP.
But SIOP lesson plan is based on 3P: practice, present, practice, produce, right?
You can go with PPP model. You choose any model that you like, as long as it has good effect on that learner. So make sure that learner will improve the grammar problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it can be any model you prefer, as long as it's effective. Any questions? Farid, are you here?
No, everything is clear. Thank you.
No questions.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you
Farid
very
is
much.
here. Good. Jalgas, we didn't hear Jalgas. Are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Listening
I'm
carefully.
just checking that you're not sleeping. Dilnaza Turgunbayeva, wake up.
Yeah, that not sleeping.
Here.
Okay,
Not
just
sleeping.
checking that not everyone is sleeping. Good. Right. Okay then. So if you have questions, I will open discussion part in Canvas if you have questions related to those things. But you can, of course, you can ask me in Telegram too. It would be good if you copy paste to discussion too, so that we have evidence that we are discussing and working on our final projects. And we'll have a short summary and discussion based on today's chapters that we're not able to cover. Okay.
When is the deadline for the discussion?
Today's article will be today. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
please. Could you give time until tomorrow?
But you read it.
Yes, we read it today. We don't have to. I don't have time actually. Please, could you give us time until tomorrow?
Come on, I know you
Please.
can. You can. Come on.
I can't really. I can't
$50
today.
million.
That's why I'm asking. It's not a problem for you. Just we can write anytime.
It's the same because we teach online, so actually nothing changed for me. I teach 6 hours a day.
And what
each
did you
day.
do
So
previous week until today, from last Tuesday to till yesterday night, 11:55, everybody sending their
Not
assignments in the
Ghazal, not
end.
nothing changes. Now we have more assignments. We
Right.
work and we have more
If
assignments
nothing
at the same
changed,
time.
then
So we
nothing
are not
changed
we are
to
not
us
sleeping
too.
at all.
Okay.
No,
If
a
nothing changed,
lot
then
of
we're
things
living as
changes for
usual,
us.
right? Good.
More works.
We wanted to teach everything till 1 p.m., but now we have extra assignments rather than mention it in syllabus.
So you read your
We
articles until
back
today. So I'm hoping you. So you'll have a deadline today, but with the available date tomorrow. It means if you submit later, it will show late. Okay, so work hard. Uh, so good luck. Do all the assignments very well. Stay strong. Stay at
Great.
home.
Thank you, Mrs.
Don't
Sam.
drink. Okay.
Thank you
Bye.
very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.